In a quiet village nestled among rolling hills, 4 young students gathered at the home of their teacher, a wise and revered figure known for his deep understanding of life. The teacher's house was simple, with wooden floors that creaked softly, and shelves lined with ancient books. Sunlight filtered through the windows, casting warm patterns on the walls. The 4 boys, eager to learn, arrived with a shared determination to prove their discipline. Before the lesson began, they made a solemn pact. No one would speak during the session. Silence would be their challenge, a test of focus and self-control. The teacher welcomed them with a gentle nod and led them to a room where cushions were arranged in a circle. He sat among them, his presence calm and grounding, and began the lesson by opening a book. The boys sat cross-legged, their eyes fixed on the pages, their minds ready to absorb the wisdom. The room was still, save for the faint rustle of turning pages and the distant chirping of birds outside. The pact of silence felt sacred, a bond that tied them together in their pursuit of knowledge. As the lesson deepened, a sudden sound broke the tranquility. A cat, light-footed and curious, scampered across the roof above, its claws scratched against the tiles, creating a sharp, fleeting noise that echoed in the quiet room. The first boy, startled by the unexpected disturbance, let out a soft gasp. His eyes widened, and he glanced around, realizing his mistake. The sound of his voice, though small, seemed to ripple through the air, shattering the fragile silence they had vowed to keep. The second boy, quick to notice the breach, turned toward the first with a frown. His lips parted, and he whispered a sharp rebuke, pointing out the failure to stay silent. His words, though hushed, carried a tone of judgment, as if he alone upheld the pact. His focus shifted from the lesson to the fault of his companion, his mind consumed by the need to correct the error rather than maintain his own discipline. The third boy, hearing the exchange, felt a surge of frustration. His face flushed with anger, and he hissed a low, heated word, scolding both the first and second for their lack of restraint. His voice trembled with irritation, his body tense as he leaned forward, unable to contain the emotions that bubbled within. The silence, once a shared goal, now felt like a distant memory, replaced by a growing discord among the group. The fourth boy, observing the scene, felt a spark of amusement. He watched his companions falter one after another, and a sense of pride swelled in his chest. He believed himself superior, the only one who had honored the pact. Unable to resist, he let out a loud laugh, the sound bursting forth like a bell in the quiet room. His laughter was triumphant, a declaration of his perceived victory, yet it rang with arrogance, echoing off the walls and sealing the failure of their collective promise. At that moment, the teacher, who had been quietly observing, closed his book and rose. His movements were deliberate, his expression serene yet piercing. The boys fell silent, their faces a mix of guilt and curiosity, as he stepped into the center of the room. Without raising his voice, he began to address them, his words carrying the weight of insight earned through years of reflection. He turned first to the boy who had gasped. The sound of the cat, he explained, was a fleeting distraction, a momentary event that held no power unless given attention. By reacting, the boy had allowed the outside world to disrupt his inner focus, breaking the silence not with his voice alone, but with his wandering mind. Next, he looked at the second boy, whose whispered rebuke had followed. This boy, the teacher said, had been so eager to judge another's mistake that he forgot his own duty. His words, meant to correct, only deepened the fracture in their shared commitment. By focusing on the faults of others, he lost sight of his own path, letting silence slip through his fingers. The teacher's gaze then fell on the third boy, whose anger had flared like a spark. His outburst, the teacher noted, was a fire that consumed the stillness within. Anger, though natural, became a trap when it overpowered self-control. By giving into it, the boy had not only broken the silence, but also disturbed the harmony of the group. Finally, the teacher addressed the fourth boy, whose laughter had been the loudest of all. This boy, the teacher said, had fallen into the deepest error: pride. By believing himself better than his companions, he had placed himself above the lesson. His laughter, though it came last, was the most destructive, for it mocked the very spirit of their pact. True silence, the teacher emphasized, was not just the absence of sound, but the presence of humility and self-awareness. The boys sat in quiet reflection, their earlier confidence replaced by a humbling realization. The teacher's words wove a tapestry of truth, revealing that each had failed not because of the others, but because of their own choices. The silence they sought was not merely a rule to follow, but a state of being, one that required vigilance over their own hearts and minds. The teacher returned to his seat and opened the book once more, inviting them to continue the lesson. The boys, now chastened, resumed their places, their cushions feeling firmer beneath them, their resolve renewed. The room grew quiet again, but this time the silence was different, deeper, more intentional. They understood that the true challenge lay not in pointing out the flaws of others, but in mastering themselves. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the floor, the boys left the teacher's house with a lesson far greater than the one in the book. They carried with them a spark of wisdom, that life's greatest distractions come not from the world around them, but from within. By looking inward, by examining their own actions before judging others, they could avoid the traps of blame, anger, and pride. This understanding, though hard-won, became a guiding light, one that would steer them through countless moments of doubt and discord in the years to come. The village remained quiet as they walked home, the hills bathed in twilight. The cat perhaps still roamed the rooftops, but its footsteps no longer held sway. The boys had learned that true silence and true growth began with the courage to look within.